Hello guys, I'm Cross and Finney. I'm going to be doing a book review today on Stephen King's latest novel called The Outsider. Alright? Yeah, you seeing that? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, Stephen King's latest novel, The Outsider, is about 560 pages. It's a decent sized novel. Really recent. It took me about a month to read it. But that's because I took my good old time. And yeah, I had a lot of other stuff going on. But what I want to give a brief summary over it. I want to give my thoughts and opinions. I'm going to try to keep it pretty much spoiler free, just in case anyone hasn't read it. And I hate ruining a story for other people. But I will give a little bit of detail in here, but nothing too bad. Pretty much the synopsis for the story is pretty much, a child is found murdered and mutilated and raped, and pretty much one of the town's, Flint City's most wonderful citizens, highly respected, Terry Maitland, he's a coach and a teacher. He's pretty much found dead to rights from evidence, eyewitnesses, and what you have it. Pretty much the police, the main character, who's also, his name is Ralph Anderson, the leading detective, whose son has also been coached by Terry. He arrests Terry, publicly shames him, and so begins the investigation. It begins out like a cop procedural detective story, and I'm not a big fan of those, but because of the synopsis, because of what it says here in the book, it caught my interest. Because, as I was going to continue to say, that Terry also has insurmountable evidence that he was somewhere else when the murder was taking place, and there puts him in two places at the same time, and begs the question, how is that possible? So that got me interested, and plus I like Stephen King's writing, so that really reeled me in to read. I was really interested in seeing where it went, and for the most part it was good. I have some cons, I have some bones to pick, but I'll get into it. Okay, so what did I like about this book? Well, like I said, the beginning, the story of it really reeled me in. It has a good hook. The story, the characters are, for the most part, pretty interesting. They have good dynamics. And this book, The Outsider, is also connected to the Bill Hodges trilogy. I haven't read the trilogy, but I've heard good things about it. I'm not really too intrigued to read it because of the detective procedural stuff. I'm not a big fan of, but maybe one day. I don't know. I hear good things a lot about it. So, The Outsider takes place in the same universe as the Bill Hodges trilogy. It takes place after those books, and it actually brings in a character from those books. I won't say who, but I did like this character. I loved, they added flavor to it. They were interesting, and really, not knowing the character very long, I tended to care a little bit about the character and what they were doing. So that was a good plus. There was a good shocking element in the book. There were, stuff that happened in this book I wasn't expecting to happen, and even some earlier on, and I love that. It was really good. I love being shocked. It doesn't happen that often. So there was that, and Stephen King had two subplots, it seems. I could be off, but I'm pretty sure just two subplots. There's a subplot involving the family of the victim, the child who's murdered, and what they're going through, and how they're affected by the murder. I liked that a lot. That was interesting. It was enticing, and it was sad. There's the other subplot. Doesn't really take place until halfway, the second half of the book. It seemed, it was interesting, Stephen King adds in this this other detective that that's also at the same department as Ralph Anderson. And so what King does with him is interesting, and how he involves him. That made an extra layer, made the book a little better, which I appreciated. I didn't have too much issue with the ending. The ending was decent. So that kind of goes on the fence. I'm kind of on the fence with the ending. Now, but that's pretty much it, I guess, for what I like. Now, cons, if I had to pick some bones, the story felt thin. It's 560 pages. And like I said, there's like those two subplots going on. Besides that, the story is focused on the investigation of, did he do it, didn't he do it, who else is involved. And then there's it turns into, there's like this other dimension added into the story halfway through, and there's a little supernatural in there, and which is good. It's enough to propel you forward to figure out what happens, but at the same time, it's like it was almost cut and dry. I wish that there was more in there. I feel like maybe you could have put more characters or added more depth to the characters. I mean, there could be more than what there was for this size of a book. Besides that, the ending was decent. Like I said, I'm on the fence with the ending, so it's kind of good and bad. It ended decent. I've read other books from Stephen King. I know Stephen King kind of sucks usually when it comes to endings. And it was a little anticlimactic, which was a shame. But I feel like he could put more time with the antagonist in the book. I feel like he could have been more page time, or just more involved, a little more involved than what he was, or more of the threat than what Stephen King made him. So it kind of just a little more like wanting from it. Some people, I would say, I've seen other people talking about this book, and some people seem like they were upset, they were grossed out by this book because of, sometimes, it seems like there's a string that happens with the books that Stephen King writes, and at some point, and majority of his books, something messed up happens. It doesn't necessarily have to be gore, but just something really effed up with dealing with kids, like it, and just for example, just the book It, What Happens with the Kids. Like, there's just, like, Stephen King just has this thing where he has to put something really effed up to get you, seeing, like, maybe that's how he tests, he tests his writing. I don't know if people will still read him after he puts this stuff. But it wasn't that bad. There is, like, a scene or two where it talks about things, but it's not nearly as bad as I thought people were making it out to be. So it wasn't, there's nothing in this book that I don't think anyone's going to be really grossed out by or freaked out. Besides that, though, like I said, they could continue on from this book. They could push it further after the ending of this book, and with the characters. And if they would, that'd be fine. As long as Stephen King makes the story interesting, I would read a sequel if the plot, the hook, was interesting. Because, he can do that. It can be hit or miss with him, But I recommend it. I give the book 3 out of 5 stars. It's definitely something to take up your time, and maybe, so if you read the Bill Hodges trilogy, you'll probably definitely enjoy reading this book. So I recommend it highly. If you guys have any comments or thoughts, put them below. I'd like to hear what you think, or, what you thought of the book. And, hit subscribe. And I'd like to, see you guys in future videos.